Good morning, everybody. Hello. How are you this morning? Hope you're doing well. Things are there is good and beauty in your days. How are you, friends? A little mug up this morning before we get going. We, Good morning, everyone. It's a good day. We get to another week. This last week, full week of January. We are 12th through the year already. It's something else. Good morning, friends. How are you? Good morning, Yvette. Good to see you. Good morning, gang. You doing good? It is a good day. All right, we're going to get going here this morning with our journey. Welcome. It is the 24th day of January at this 11:11, and I am glad you're here. I'm glad you're with us. Glad you're a part of this journey. Welcome wherever you find yourself. You're listening to this live and you're with me right now. That's awesome. If you are listening at another time in another place, welcome. That good morning to each of you, good day to each of you, hello. That we might share this time together. And that's a little bit about what we want to talk about today. In the book of Revelation, there is this moment in uh, um, which John sends these letters to these seven churches. It's how the book begins. It's John has this revelation and he has some things to say. And so he begins his letter with this greeting. So first begins his letter with a greeting, which is always a nice thing to do. Greetings are important. They matter to us. They matter that if you're in the army, you'll give the greeting of the day to people of differing ranks that you encounter, which is a formalized way of greeting. And and I think how we greet one another is actually incredibly important in the course of our day. Uh, I remember I went to get a drink with a dear friend of mine once, and we sat down at the bar. It was this really particularly swanky place in which we were, and so we sit down and we're dressed well, and everybody around us is dressed well, and we're all among the beautiful people, and we sit down, and all of a sudden as we sit down, the bartender comes over and he's kind of doing little bartendery things, and all of a sudden, and my friend, says, "Oh, we'll have an old fashioned," um, and and the bartender kind of looks at him affronted for a moment and says, "Hi, I'm Mark." And it was a fantastic moment because here we were kind of thinking we're engaging in this little exchange of commerce. The guy behind the bar is going to get us a drink, and we're going to sit there. And he completely retooled. He completely changed the entire moment of our engagement there. And so we all every my friend backed up and was like, oh well, hi, and introduced himself, and then Mark, our bartender, whom I still remember, went on to invite to introduce the people we were sitting next to. In fact, Mark had known every single person at the bar because before, which was packed, by the way, two and three deep, but because the first thing he did was he greeted them before we got into orders, before we got into drinks. This notion of taking the time to greet, and that greeting and how we greet actually is caught up in the very time of life itself. And we find this in John. And this is so John 1:8. This is the beginning of the book of Revelation. So and he says, it says John to the seven churches, and he says this is his greeting. And it's not unique to him. It actually, you'll find it in the Old Testament. You'll find it in Deuteronomy. You'll find Paul will use this greeting as well a number of different times. This is actually a kind of common greeting within the Christianity, but particularly in the early church, but all through. But think about it, that this incredibly mystical text that Revelation is about to give way to, he's gonna greet the seven churches with this: grace and peace to you from him who is, and who was, and who is to come, and from the seven spirits before his throne, and from Jesus Christ, who is the faithful witness, the firstborn from the dead, and the ruler of the kings of the earth. Well, if that doesn't make a statement, that he greets them with this incredible invocation of the grace and peace from him who is, and who was, and who is to come. Are you catching this? That the greeting itself is bound up in time and space. That I greet you from the God that is in the past, that Christ who is right now, and Christ who you will encounter in the future. That I greet you from eternity. I greet you from a time outside of time. Now, why is this a big deal? Because I think that what we find in both, whether it's the busyness of our days and the fullness of them, or maybe our days are open and languishing, or maybe it's the priorities that we have in the midst of our days, this simple notion of understanding that when we greet, we actually create a time outside of time. A psychologist friend once said to me, which I'll never forget it, because it's so blatantly true that it's almost assaulting. But she says, if we're really honest, life is really nothing more than a long series of hellos and goodbyes. If we're really honest, life is nothing more than a series of hellos and goodbyes. What do we do in the midst of our hellos? And what do we do in our fare thee wells? We greet one another. We have a greeting around it. And that this invocation that, again, John uses it, I think, most powerfully here, but Paul uses it, and you'll find its origin in Deuteronomy, actually places us in the reality of the problem of time. You see, time is a problem because essentially it's an illusion. All of the physicists who dig deep on this will tell you this, that there's really no accounting for why there's time. There are these series of, and I'm not going to get all hippy-dippy on you here, so just stay with me. I mean, there are these series of experiences that seem to play themselves out. And if we don't catch the 7:20 train, we don't catch the 7:20 train. We know that there are particular times where particular events are going to happen, and we coordinate that. But part of that, and a lot of it, is our construction itself. For instance, the country of China is, from east to west, actually larger than the United States. However, in the country of China, from east to west, there is one time zone. They don't account. There's Beijing time. There's the time where the party is, and that's all there is. Everybody else, if the sun comes up at midnight out in the far eastern regions of the east or of the west, the sun comes up at midnight. But there's one time zone. Where we in where we in America, we've got three different time zones. Yet, even within our own time zones, my friend Robin is in Michigan in the same time zone as Eastern time. Our sunrise this morning was something like 6:15, something like that. Her sunrise is probably closer to in 8, 9 o'clock. I didn't look it up, but somewhere in there. That we're in that this whole thing of time, whether it's the way the light moves across the earth, all of it. And even beyond that, there's the relative nature of time. That the time spent in the dentist chair is not time spent on a 3-day cruise. They move, they feel, our experience of them are different. They're longer. To spend time in a dentist chair, at least for me, is a long time. 20 minutes in a dentist chair is a long time, particularly when they got the little drill out going. 20 minutes scrolling on my phone is gone in a minute. 20 minutes, talking with an old friend evaporates in a second. That in those moments we're actually inhabiting eternity. We're time outside of time. Where we maybe get lost in a show or get lost in a conversation or spend hours talking, and it's as if no time has gone by at all. Because it's in those moments that we're touching the eternal. We're back to where John greets the churches that he has the message for. Grace and peace from him who is and who was and who is to come. I think this is most important, or most key to remember, to hold on to, is really when we're, encountering those whom we love that maybe aren't here anymore. That to understand that this whole thing doesn't hold us. And we're not contained by this, by our meat suit. We're not contained by our physical, by simply and only our physical incarnation. But that we are belonging to him who was and him who is and the one who is to come. And that our existence is held in that. Einstein lost a dear friend, and that he wrote about in a letter, a guy by the name of Michel Besso. And when Besso died, he wrote a note to his family, to his family, and it goes like this. He says, "Now he has departed from this strange world a little ahead of me. That means nothing. People like us, who believe in physics, know the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubborn, persistent illusion." Friends, I want to invite you today to fill this rambling feast of time with the eternal. That the greetings of your day to day, whoever you encounter, whoever you stumble upon, whoever you might be blessed to cross their path, that you might greet them with the fullness of eternity. And then you might greet what happens to you, the words that you're going to get, the messages that's going to happen, the text that you get, the stuff that happens, with the grace and the peace of him who is and who was and who is to come. Knowing that greeting, that wonder of hospitality, that little moment of hello, might actually transform us in such a way to understand that our time on this earth, however long it might be, is not Jesus' time, is not God's time, is not the time that we're made, that we were made to believe is somehow ruling in our daytimer. But it's the time that all has been, and that all that is right now, and all that will ever be, that we can plug into, that we can use as the kind of the rubric, the way to measure, the way to encounter every single thing that we're going to encounter. You see, the thing about that little those letters that John's going to hand off to these 7 churches, they're not necessarily good news. And even the incredibleness of what's going to unfold in Revelation, it's a lot. But we are built for a lot. We are built for eternity. We are built for times outside of time. We are built for encounters with the holy. We are built for the grace and peace of the one who made us to inhabit us and surround us and inform our days. That's what we were made for. That's not a thing that you're striving to become one day if you sit on the lotus leaf, or if you're nice enough and you hold the door enough times, or that you say enough prayers, or you worry your hands enough to make sure that you miss the lake of fire, or whatever kind of story you tell yourself around this stuff. You were made to inhabit the great hellos and the great goodbyes. You are made to inhabit not just this world, but the next life. You are made to inhabit the eternal, because you are a child of eternity. And that no matter what news we have to give, no matter what letter is being sent, no matter what encounter we're having in the course of the day, to encounter it with the fullness of our understanding. That it's not just this moment that maybe is really hard, or it might just not be this moment that's really great. But that's standing in it and standing with us as we greet each day, as we greet each moment, as we greet each week, as we greet each second. We greet it with the fullness of the grace and peace of eternity. Now, is it always easy? No. Are we always going to pull it off? No. But we can always remember that it's there. We can always, when we find ourselves in the ditch or off of or coloring outside the lines, we can always fall back and reach into the realms of God's peace and grace for us, which exceeds all things, loves all things, endures all things for each one of us, wherever we may be and however we may struggle. Friends, I hope you'll take up the greeting of the day, that you'll greet this time with not just with a quick hello and maybe a jaunty goodbye, but you'll greet this time with the fullness of eternity, as John greeted his churches, as Paul greeted his churches, as God invited us to greet him in Deuteronomy, and as we greet one another as children of the Most High, sons and daughters of eternity. All right, folks, that's my hope for you today. Good morning, Karen. Great to see you here. We'll say our hellos now. Donna, I've been praying for Phyllis. We will hold her up. Please pray for Phyllis, Donna's sister. She's not been well. So, Derek, good morning. I hope it's going great. It's Sharon, hello. Kristen, good morning to you. John, hello. I hope New Hampshire was. I bet you guys got some snow up there. Good morning, Jamie. Hello. Glad to see you. Good to see everybody that's here this morning. Grace and peace to you from him who is and who was and who is to come, and from the 7 spirits before the throne, and from Jesus Christ, who is the faithful witness, the firstborn of the dead, and the ruler of the kings of the earth. Peace and grace, my friends.